Combined Science 10 predicted questions with answers for Paper 2 AQA GCSE Chemistry Exam 2024. Question 1. The reversible reaction for the production of ammonia is shown below. Explain the effect of increasing temperature on the yield of ammonia. The forward reaction here is an exothermic reaction because there is heat produced here. So in the answer, you need to refer that the forward reaction is exothermic, and increasing the temperature will shift the equilibrium towards the reverse reaction, which is endothermic. So concentration of reactants will increase while the concentration of the product, which is ammonia, will decrease. So the overall yield of ammonia will decrease. Question 2. Give the name of the alkane that has 4 carbon atoms. The alkane with 4 carbon atoms is called butane, but they could ask you to name any of the alkanes that have from 1 to 3 carbon atoms. So if it's 1 carbon atom, it's called methane. 2 carbon atoms, it's ethane. And 3 carbon atoms is propane. Question 3. C3H6 is an alkene. What is the test for alkene? The test for alkene is the bromine motor test. The result is the color change from orange to colorless. Question 4. Describe a test for carbon dioxide. The test for carbon dioxide is the lime motor test, and for the test you pass the gas through lime motor. The result is lime motor turns cloudy. Question 5. Explain how increasing the concentration affects the rate of the reaction, and you should refer to particles and collision. In case of concentration, increasing concentration means that there are more particles knocking about in the same volume of the solution. So more frequent collision between particles, and more collisions will have enough energy for the reaction to take place, meaning that the rate of the reaction will increase. Question 6. Explain how the emission of nitrogen oxides can be reduced in cars, or explain how the nitrogen oxide is produced from burning fuel in car engine. In terms of the production of nitrogen oxide is produced by the high temperature of the car engine. Nitrogen and oxygen from air will react together to give nitrogen oxides. However, the reduction of the emission of nitrogen oxide is achieved by the use of catalytic converter in the car exhaust, and catalytic converters will convert nitrogen oxides to nitrogen and oxygen. Question 7. Question on carbon footprint. They will either present some carbon footprint during the manufacture and the use of cars, or during the life cycle of any other product, or they could ask you to explain why carbon dioxide emission in car or any other product is not the only source for the carbon footprint. Remember, when you answer this question, if you are dealing with data and number, you just need to compare the number and say which one is better than the other and produce less of the carbon footprint. But when you talk about the carbon footprint for any other product, you need to remember or to refer to the production of carbon dioxide during the life cycle of the product. That includes the raw material production, the manufacture, use, and disposal, the 4 stages. So carbon dioxide emission during the transport of the raw material, because of the use of the vehicle to transport the raw material, during the transport of the cars, for example, from the factory to the customer. The use of machinery itself can produce carbon footprint, and also the transport of the cars during the disposal, or of any product during the disposal. This is in addition to the emission during the use of the car. Question 8. Describe how copper is produced by phytomining. So phytomining is used to produce copper from low-grade ores, and they use plants to absorb metal compounds. The copper will gradually build up in the leaves, and plants are harvested and then they are burned to produce ash that contains the metal compound. Question 9. Balance the equation. C4H10 plus oxygen gives you carbon and water. They will usually give you any equation related to complete combustion, incomplete combustion, or cracking. This is an example of an equation for incomplete combustion that gives carbon and water. So to balance this equation, 2 of the butane, C4H10 plus 5O2, will give you 8 carbon plus 10 water. Question 10. Explain how chromatography can be used to identify if a certain harmful dye is present in a food coloring. To answer this question, remember to refer to how you're going to identify this. So first you need to run the non-harmful dye and the food coloring on a paper chromatogram. And then you measure the RF of the known dye and also for all of the components of the or all of the dyes in the food coloring by measuring the distance traveled by dye. So you measure the RF by measuring the distance. And then you compare the two, identify the presence of the harmful dye if one of the component has the same RF value as the non-harmful dye or if they travel the same distance.